Welcome to another video that just might change how you view yourself and the world around you. Today, we're diving into a topic that's often misunderstood, yet deeply transformative. Have you ever been told to let go of your ego, to abandon it entirely, as if it's the root of all your problems? But what if I told you that the ego isn't your enemy, and that it might actually hold the key to your growth and ultimate freedom? Understanding this truth could be the most liberating insight of your life. In this video, we'll unpack the true nature of the ego, its purpose, and why trying to destroy it might not only be impossible, but also counterproductive. Instead, we'll explore how to align it with your deeper essence, yourself. This isn't just philosophy. This is a guide to understanding the part of you that thinks, feels, and interacts with the world, and how it can become a bridge to a life filled with authenticity, peace, and connection to the divine. So grab your favorite drink, find a quiet spot, and let's unravel this mystery together. If this sounds like the journey you've been looking for, stick around. By the end, you'll not only understand your ego in a new light, but also learn how to turn it into a powerful ally in your spiritual evolution. Does this introduction work for you? Or would you like to adjust anything before we continue? The ego. It's a term we hear often, tossed around as though it's a villain we must conquer. Yet, how often do we stop to truly understand what the ego is, why it exists, and what role it plays in our lives? Most of us have been conditioned to believe that the ego is a problem, a barrier to our happiness and spiritual growth. But what if we've been looking at it the wrong way? What if, instead of an enemy, the ego is actually a vital part of our journey, something that needs integration rather than elimination? The ego, in simple terms, is our perception of ourselves, our identity. It's the repository of our memories, experiences, thoughts, and beliefs. It defines how we see the world and how we position ourselves within it. Think of it as a lens. Our ego colors everything we observe and experience. It's what gives us a sense of I, separating us from everything else. But herein lies the problem. This sense of separation can make us blind to the interconnected nature of existence. It can trap us in cycles of judgment, fear, and desire, cutting us off from the deeper reality of who we are. Let's imagine a vast ocean. The ego is like a wave on that ocean, rising up with its unique form and perspective. It feels separate, distinct, perhaps even superior to the other waves around it. But the truth is, it's always been part of the ocean. It could never truly be apart from it. That ocean, the deeper reality, is what we can call the self or the essence. It's the part of us that's timeless, infinite, and interconnected with all things. While the ego focuses on our individual stories, preferences, and identities, the self reminds us of the greater unity to which we belong. Now, here's where things get tricky. In today's world, the ego is often overfed. From the moment we're born, we're taught to focus on ourselves as individuals. We're told to achieve, to stand out, to accumulate. Society rewards ego-driven pursuits, wealth, status, power, and validation from others. Yet, these pursuits often leave us feeling hollow. Why? Because they disconnect us from our essence. The ego's desire for control and separation keeps us chasing external validation instead of finding fulfillment within. But let's clarify something important. The ego itself is not evil. It's a tool, a necessary one. The problem arises when we let it run the show. Imagine you're driving a car. The ego is like the engine. It's powerful and essential, but it's not meant to steer. When the ego takes control, we end up veering off course, driven by fear, insecurity, and an endless need for more. The key, then, is not to destroy the ego, but to realign it, to integrate it into a greater harmony with our essence. Psychologist Carl Jung spoke extensively about this process. He emphasized that the ego is an essential part of our psyche, but it should serve a higher purpose, the self. The self is the part of us that's connected to the divine, to the greater whole. Jung referred to the process of aligning the ego with the self as individuation. It's the journey of becoming whole, of integrating all parts of ourselves into a balanced and harmonious existence. But how do we begin this journey? The first step is awareness. We need to recognize when the ego is driving our thoughts and actions. Are we seeking validation? Are we acting out of fear or a need to prove ourselves? By observing these patterns, we start to loosen their grip. Meditation can be an incredibly powerful tool here. By sitting in stillness and observing our thoughts without judgment, we create space for the essence to emerge. In those moments of presence, we connect with something deeper, a sense of peace and oneness that transcends the ego's dramas. Another important step is to practice surrender. This doesn't mean giving up or becoming passive. Surrender, in this context, means letting go of the ego's need to control. It's about trusting the flow of life, knowing that we are part of something much greater. When we surrender, we align ourselves with the natural rhythms of the universe. We stop resisting and start flowing. And in that flow, we discover true freedom. A common misconception is that spiritual growth requires eliminating the ego. But as we've discussed, the ego is not something to be eradicated. It's part of our humanity, and trying to destroy it only leads to inner conflict. Instead, we aim to integrate the ego, allowing it to work in harmony with the self. This integration is not a one-time event. It's an ongoing process. It requires patience, compassion, and a willingness to face our shadows. Speaking of shadows, this is another crucial aspect of the journey. The ego loves to hide our imperfections, our fears, and our insecurities. It wants to present a polished image to the world. But true growth comes from confronting these hidden aspects of ourselves. Jung referred to this as shadow work. It's about shining a light on the parts of ourselves we've been avoiding. When we do this, we not only heal old wounds, but also reclaim the energy and potential that have been locked away in those shadows. As we progress on this path, something beautiful begins to happen. The ego, once a source of separation and suffering, becomes a bridge to deeper connection. It no longer seeks to dominate, but to serve. It becomes a tool for expressing the self in the world, a way to bring the infinite into the finite, the divine into the human experience. This is what it means to live in alignment. Our actions, thoughts, and words flow from a place of authenticity and love, rather than fear and need. In the end, the journey of integrating the ego is about balance. It's about honoring our individuality while recognizing our unity. It's about celebrating the wave while remembering the ocean. And most importantly, it's about living with an open heart, trusting that we are always supported by something much greater than ourselves. This is the essence of spiritual growth. Not to escape our humanity, but to embrace it fully, to live as both wave and ocean, ego and self, human and divine. By integrating these aspects of ourselves, we step into a life of wholeness, freedom, and profound joy. Now, let me ask you, does this perspective resonate with you? Are there parts of your ego that you feel ready to explore, to understand, and to align? Take a moment to reflect, and let's continue this journey together. As we draw our discussion to a close, let's revisit the transformative journey we've explored. The ego, often misunderstood as a hindrance, is not something to be eliminated but embraced and aligned. It is a tool, a lens through which we view and interact with the world, but it is not the entirety of who we are. Beneath the layers of identity, judgments, and roles lies the essence of our being. Our true self, the connection to the infinite, the divine, and the universal flow of existence. We've uncovered how the ego serves as a critical part of our psychological makeup, helping us navigate the external world. However, when left unchecked, it can dominate our lives, steering us toward desires rooted in fear, insecurity, and separation. This is where the process of integration becomes essential. Integration does not mean suppression. It means alignment. It is about allowing the ego to work in harmony with our higher self, transforming it into a bridge rather than a barrier. The practice of awareness is at the heart of this transformation. By observing our thoughts, emotions, and actions without judgment, we begin to see the patterns driven by the ego. This awareness creates space to choose a response instead of reacting, space to connect with our essence, and space to transcend the limitations of conditioned behaviors. Meditation, mindfulness, and self-reflection are invaluable tools in cultivating this awareness. Through these practices, we reconnect with the stillness within, the place where our essence resides. We also discuss the importance of surrender, not as a form of defeat, but as a profound act of trust. Surrendering the ego's need for control allows us to align with the natural flow of life. It's about releasing resistance and embracing what is, knowing that everything unfolds as it should. In surrender, we find freedom from the constant striving and grasping that characterize an ego-driven existence. Equally significant is the work of confronting our shadows. The ego's desire to maintain a polished image often leads us to repress parts of ourselves we deem unacceptable. Shadow work invites us to shine a light on these hidden aspects, to acknowledge and integrate them. This process not only heals old wounds, but also unlocks a wellspring of creativity, strength, and authenticity. As we integrate the ego and align it with the self, our perception shifts. We begin to see the world not as a place of competition and scarcity, but as a realm of connection and abundance. The ego, when in service to the self, becomes a tool for authentic expression, enabling us to live in alignment with our deepest truths. This alignment brings a sense of peace and fulfillment that cannot be found in external achievements or possessions. Living in alignment does not mean escaping the challenges of life. Instead, it means approaching them with a sense of wholeness and balance. It's about embracing both the human and the divine within us, recognizing that we are both finite and infinite, separate and connected. This duality is not a contradiction, but a beautiful paradox that enriches our existence. The journey we've discussed today is not a one-time event, but a lifelong practice. It requires patience, compassion, and a willingness to grow. There will be moments of discomfort, but these are opportunities for transformation. Each step we take toward integration brings us closer to living a life of authenticity, freedom, and joy. So, how can you begin applying these insights to your life right now? Start by observing. Notice when your ego is at play, when you feel the need to prove something, to seek validation, or to control outcomes. Then pause. Take a deep breath and ask yourself, is this action or thought serving my essence? Is it aligned with the person I truly wish to be? These small moments of reflection can lead to profound shifts over time. Next, carve out time for stillness. Whether it's through meditation, journaling, or simply sitting in nature, create space to connect with your essence. In these moments, let go of the need to do or achieve. Simply be. The more you practice this, the more you'll cultivate a sense of inner peace and clarity that transcends the ego's noise. Finally, embrace your humanity. Understand that the ego is not your enemy. It's a part of you, just as your essence is. By working with it rather than against it, you unlock the potential to live a life of harmony and purpose. Remember, the goal is not perfection but integration, a process that brings depth, richness, and meaning to every aspect of your life. As we conclude, I invite you to reflect on what we've discussed today. How does your ego manifest in your daily life? Are there areas where you feel ready to bring greater awareness and alignment? Take a moment to sit with these questions and let them guide your next steps. This journey is deeply personal, yet it's one we all share. By exploring the interplay between ego and essence, we embark on a path of self-discovery that not only transforms our lives, but also contributes to the collective growth of humanity. It's a path of courage, compassion, and connection, a path that leads us back to ourselves. Thank you for joining me on this transformative journey of self-discovery. If today's discussion resonated with you, remember that you hold the power to align your ego with your essence, creating a life of authenticity and balance. This path may not always be easy, but every step you take brings you closer to uncovering the boundless potential within. Now, I have a question for you. How has your ego influenced your decisions and relationships? And what steps can you take to align more with your essence starting today? Share your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to hear your experiences and insights. If you found value in this video, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps us bring more meaningful content to life. And don't go just yet. There are 2 videos on the screen waiting for you to explore. Choose one to keep learning, growing, and taking your understanding to the next level. Lastly, don't miss tomorrow's video. It's packed with insights you won't want to miss. Thank you for being here. And until next time, remember, the journey to understanding yourself is the most rewarding adventure you can embark on. See you soon.